What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another video. So in today's video, I'm gonna give you guys the breakdown of the trade that I took today. December 22nd was a beautiful trade. I had two entry in this position, so I'm gonna show you guys the current entry that we're in right now, which is sitting at 44.07. So 44.07 right now in profit. We're currently running over $844. I'm gonna make sure that you guys are able to see that. $844 is what we're currently running as of right now, and I've already secured some profits off this trade, which I'm up over $1,910 for the day. And again, this is the account that we're trading in. So we were able to secure over 1,900. We're leaving over $840 running in profits. Now, this was a beautiful trade. Last week we had an amazing trade. So before I start with the breakdown video, I just want to give you guys an update with the signal results and update how I've been this entire month with trading. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, earlier this month it had me, I was down over $6,000, almost $6,000, $7,000 in my personal funds. And all we simply did was just lock in and be able to show up every single day and continue doing the same exact work. And that's exactly how I was able to recover it all from 1 week. So I was in a losing week basically for 2 weeks. It was pretty draining, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Pretty mentally drained. I was just, overthinking a lot of things. The market wasn't giving me exactly what I wanted. There will be trades that will take me out of stop loss and continue going its direction. There will be trade that it will miss my limit, continue going the direction. And when I will enter the trade, it will just take me out of stop loss, or some other trade just wouldn't play out, right? And to show you guys, or to keep it honest with you guys, right? Obviously in trading, this is all games of probabilities, right? The way that I like to approach the market is every day just following the same exact plan that I looked for, right? Which is the 5-step system. Just follow the 5-step system. If the market gives it to me, that's exactly what I'm going to execute the trades, right? So to give you guys a quick rundown of exactly how I've been this entire month, we can start off from December 1st, right? You guys can see all the results, right? We did have some good trades and we also had some bad trades. Going into December 8th, which is the week that I, pretty much, started failing more of the trades, right? Week 8 and the first week over here, I did good, right? And then we're going into the second week, which this is the week that I did terrible. So as you guys can see, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 losses. We had 7 losses back to back. All of them was risking 1%. I was losing over like almost $1,500 per trade. I did manage to secure some good trades as well, but obviously the losses were bigger, or it was more losses than wins, right? Obviously, when you guys get into these losses, your head, your mindset, your psychology at this point over here is like pretty much just messing around with you, right? You don't know exactly what to do at this point. Like, you're pretty much going into so many panic mode. Like, you want to overtrade, you want to make up the losses, you want to increase the losses, right? It's a lot of panic things that happen whenever you guys are going into these losses, right? The way that I like to handle my losing streak is pretty much just do the same thing, right? Just show up to the market, do not miss a day. If you lose, you close down the computer, you go back the next couple sessions, and you review exactly what happened, right? One of the biggest things that I've learned a lot during my whole entire trading process or journey, whatever you guys want to call it, is that be grateful with the losses and be grateful with the wins, right? Keep it that simple. If you lose, you got to be grateful. If you win, you got to be grateful, right? It's just an all game of probability. You're not wrong with the market. It's just sometimes that the market is not going to give you guys the condition that you guys are looking for. And a good way to explain as well, we're in December, we're in the holidays market, right? The market is coming to an end pretty soon. This week we have Christmas, so I do expect the market to be pretty choppy, right? But that does not mean, for me personally, it does not mean that I have to stop trading, right? It doesn't matter the market condition. I'm only going to approach the market if it gives me exactly what I'm looking for, right? And that's exactly how last week, as you guys can see, these were the weeks that I did pretty bad. And we can go into last week how I only took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 trades. And just look at the results. We did almost like, I believe it was 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. We did over 13% last week, which recovered all of our losses from the previous week. And we closed out the week very, very profitable. I haven't lost one trade. We're going into this week, and just check this out. We already up another big trade. This trade over here, we have already secured over a 1 and 2 risk to reward. I've already locked in all of my profits, over 70%, leaving over 30% just running. So, beautiful way to close out the week so far, right? Or yeah, we're closing out the week pretty soon because we have Christmas coming up. I believe, on the 24th. I do believe the market to be kind of choppy by tomorrow. But hey, we did end up closing out a very good trade, very nice. I'm going to give you guys the market breakdown, and of course, these are the same exact trade that I'm calling every single day inside my signal room. We call out the losses and we call out the wins. So if we go here, this was a trade that I called out this morning. We woke up gold printing an all-time high. So if you guys notice, gold is creating new all-time highs. Just look at this. Just printing new all-time highs, which is beautiful. Now, going back here towards the Telegram, you guys can see that the first trade that I called out, the only trade that I called out this morning was at 6:14 a.m. I had two limit, 44.07 and 44.05. I woke up, I took this trade here, I went for a run, came back, I did see that my trade was active at around 8:20, the time that I like to go back into the markets, and just look how it perfectly hit every single take profit, which is exactly what we want, right? So this trade was very beautiful. I'm going to explain to you guys exactly how did I spot this trade, how exactly did I mark up, which is pretty much exactly how I mark up every single trade. We go back here in my Telegram towards last week, you guys can see every single trade that I've taken, right? All of this was pretty nice wins. You guys can see the results. Everything was back to back, which is beautiful, right? We recovered from a very tough week, very tough 2 weeks that I just been losing back to back. Very, mentally, obviously, and obviously we were able to recover, and we were able to continue this week with the positive and continue growing our account. Now, this trade that I took over here, since I had two entry, right, I normally risk over 1.5% of my account balance, and especially in this account here is my biggest account, which is in account management. So this account is sitting we're almost at $300,000, and this account only has over 8 to 10 investors. Oh shit. In this account over here, we have like over 8 to 10 investors. So let me show you guys. So this account, we're almost sitting at $300,000, and then this is the broker that we're using for this account. This trade over here, again, we're up 1,900, and this is the profit that we're currently running as of right now. And if I give you guys pretty much a rundown of what we're currently holding this entire month, which is December 1st to December 23rd, we're up almost 9,000, well 10,000, but like with all that fees and all that taken away, we're up over $9,831, which is still pretty good. So beautiful way to slowly recover from this entire week, especially from starting off the week pretty bad. We're closing out the week pretty good, over $10,000 in profit. This is all the trade that I took last week, right? And now we're going into the trade that I took this morning, which was beautiful. Really loved it. Really love exactly how everything played out. So let's get right into this. So as always, we always start off from a higher time frame perspective, right? We always look at the weekly time frame to pretty much give us an idea of what the market has been doing, right? And what I always like to do is just always mark up previous week highs and previous week lows, and I also like to mark up the current week lows or the current week highs as well, right? So I'm just marking weekly highs, weekly lows, and the reason why is simply because the week highs can either be areas where it can be grabbing liquidity, or it can be areas where it can be used as potential targets, or obviously the market can just continue, right? So if we notice last week market, we can see that last week market we were pretty bullish, right? And we created a highs over here, which is going to be sitting around the 43.73. Now, if you guys look towards the left side, you guys can also see how price action has previously also formed highs here, right? So you guys can clearly see this. Let's go back. Let's grab a little pen over here. Where can you find this? Right over here. So we had highs, high, and then we obviously rejected, which the market had a big retracement, right? Now the market once again came back towards this level. We kind of had the same exact rejection towards these areas, right? Now what pretty much saved this push over here, obviously there's fundamentals, and then we also have the technical, right? So notice this over here was last week. This was on a Wednesday. We had a push towards the upside, which was simply CPI news, right? I believe this was CPI from last week. We formed back over here towards these highs. We had the same exact rejection, and we pretty much closed back underneath these entire areas of resistance, right? Now, what I like to teach a lot when it comes into market structure is to pretty much confirm to you guys how exactly do you guys know that the market is still very much bullish, right? It's very simple. If you guys take a look here on the daily time frame, you guys can clearly see that the market is heading towards one direction, which is towards the upside, right? And whenever the market heads towards the upside, we are always pulling back into multiple zones, right? We can either pull back towards previous resistance, which can turn into support. We're pulling back towards demand zone, and we're also pulling back towards imbalance zones or fair value gap zones, which price action is always going to have a reaction from, right? Now, Take a look right over here. If we look into the 4-hour time frame perspective, we can see that last week, this was previous week, that we had a push towards the market, but we came back to retest a major demand zone, right? Which is going to be sitting around the 4280 zone. The 4280 zone, we can clearly see how this was last week, we can clearly see how we respected this entire zone and we had a proper break of structure towards the upside. Yes, we came back towards this area of resistance, which price action pretty much had a similar reaction towards it, right? We had a sell-off, and then once again, we came back towards this level, and we also had another sell-off. But if we go back here towards intraday time frame perspective, we can see that this higher time frame break of structure, right? If you guys go back towards the 4-hour time frame, is all of these entire highs, plus we are respecting these areas of demand, right? Let's go put this right over here. We are respecting these demands on over here. This is confirming bullish. And the reason why is because once we respected higher time frame demand zone, which is going to be sitting right over here. If price action would have broken underneath and closed underneath, then obviously this entire sell-off over here can probably play out. Obviously, we just need bearish price action to build up, and it probably would have given us a good bearish price action, right? But since we respected it, we started pushing towards the upside. We had a break of structure, which break of structure is also known as the continuation of a market direction. So it's very simple. We had a break of structure. We came back towards an areas of resistance. So the market likes to retrace back whenever it taps towards these specific zones. Resistance is always going to be high. So if price action taps it, we are expecting for a sell-off, right? And in this case over here, we had major proper, demand zone, which price action respected. We have higher time frame break of structure. We had a pullback to retest a break of structure, which was areas of resistance, which as you guys can see, price action used it as an area of support. We started pushing towards the upside. Price action repeated the same history. Taps it, we are respecting it. Same thing happened over here. Taps it, we are respecting it. Until Friday of last week, we had another break of structure. So if we go back towards the 4-hour time frame, you guys can clearly see how price action has properly broken out of this entire major resistance, which was holding from the last 2 weeks. So we've been holding this from 12/12, which if we go back here towards the calendar, it was last week or 2 weeks ago, 12/12 Friday, which we formed this highs over here. And price action was just continue holding it from last week until Friday, we finally broke out of it. Friday, we broke out of it. We had a retracement, which was simply the retest of all of this entire market structure. So again, if you guys notice the pattern, what are we simply forming? We're creating proper higher highs and higher lows, especially that price action from all the way to the bottom here, we've been heading towards the upside. So again, we have a low, we have a high, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, highs, and lows. And the market just continues heading towards the upside. Cool. So we got done with the market structure. Obviously, we understand the market structure is bullish. Daily time frame. We noticed that the daily time frame, yes, there is wick rejection towards the upside. There's wick rejection towards the downside. But we're normally respecting the main zones, right? And the main zone in this case over here is going to be these lows over here and these lows right over here. We have a high, we have a higher low. We have a high, we have a higher low. We are respecting all of these entire zone, which is cool. Now, going over here in the 4-hour time frame perspective, look at this cat. Now, going over here on the 4-hour time frame perspective, right, we can see that yesterday, right, we did have an aggressive market open, right? We had a very aggressive bullish market open towards the upside, right? Me personally, I do not like to trade, once the market open. I like to pretty much just wait for the Asian session or maybe late Asian session going into the London session, right? So what I've noticed from the market session open is that obviously the market opened very bullish, right? That's number one thing. We opened bullish and we just continue pushing the market towards highs, right? But there was never proper, there was never showing over here that price session can give us a proper solid trade. The market was just heading towards the upside, right? And one thing that we like to do with this strategy here is that we don't like to chase. We like to look for specific things. Once the market gives us a specific thing, that's exactly where we're going to execute the market. So we do know that obviously these major areas of resistance got retested, it got rejected, maintained as support, and then pushed the market even higher. We also noticed that yesterday market structure, like market session open, we broke above these interdays or lower time frame highs, which is going to be sitting at 43.73. And if you guys take a look at this from a higher time frame perspective, we also broke above all previous highs. right? So this was all during the Asian session. We broke above all of these entire previous highs. Again, if you guys look towards these structures over here, there's still no proper confirmation or proper setup for us to even take a trade. If we would have taken a trade here, we're just basically chasing and we're not really trading. We're just gambling, hoping that the market is going to continue pushing higher, right? So this over here for me is all just chasing market. There's no clear direction, or there's nothing clear right over here. This is just all BS. This is just a continuation of all the market session open, right? Now, going over here, entering late Asian session, going into late Asian session, going into early London session, right? This is where pretty much my setup is aligning now. Now, if we look at this, this is going into 1 a.m., right? This is slowly ending the Asian session, merging to the London session. The London session, there's a lot of volume that is kicking in, right? Now, notice how right over here, once we had a clean break of structure towards this pretty much choppy price action, right? You guys can see all of this entire choppy price action, which doesn't really make any sense, right? Until we had a proper break, which this was a very strong volume that kicked in, right? Because you guys can notice the strength of all of these entire candles. All of the strength in this entire candles are pretty much weak, right? It's just up, down, up, down, up, down. There's not really clean imbalance, or there's not even clean volumes, right? This is just the volume just continuing the trend. Now, if we take a look right over here, we can clearly see how price action had a clean break, pull back, and what do we form? We form London or Asian session, areas of support. So this for me was already a good confirmation, right? Or building up a confirmation. Hey, we finally kicked off the volume. We're now building up an area of support. Once we build up this area of support, right, we're going into early pre-London session. Notice how we had a nice push towards the upside. We had an imbalance, right? The market just took off with a lot of strength. If we take a look here towards the 15-minute time frame, we take a look here towards the 30-minute time frame. Notice how this 30-minute closed perfectly right after forming that area of support. This for me right over here is exactly what I want to look for the market every single time. We have a proper key zone, which in this case over here is going to be the support. We notice that market structure for us is completely bullish. We have an imbalance candle, which also is going to be known as areas of fair value gaps, right? So this is a nice 30-minute fair value gap, bullish fair value gap, and we also have a nice 15-minute fair value gap as well, right? You guys can simply see the gap, and you can see how price action just continued pushing towards the upside. So these zones for me are exactly where I like to execute the markets. And obviously, it will only work out if you're going with the trend. So in this case over here, we are bullish. So we have a nice bullish imbalance candle, right? Pretty much similar to this candle right over here. But notice how this candle over here, we never really got in the pullback exactly the zone. You guys can see how price action never really tapped into it. So this would have been considered as a miss. But this also could have been a trade that we would like to take as well, which is just building these type of candles. These candles for me are exactly what I want to see every single time. So we can see that price action, obviously we are bullish. We form a new all-time highs. We form a support right over here. So we have support, we have resistance. Obviously the market needs to retest zones, right? So for us to trade, like I told you guys, that this is all chasing the market. This is what we want. So this is an invalid setup and this is a valid setup. The reason why this is invalid, because again, first of all, it built the imbalance that we wanted, but never retested it. It just continued pushing higher. So at that point over here is that the market is just picking up volume, right? We're chasing the market. We don't want to chase it. We want the market to come to us, and it has to align with our setup. In this case over here, we go towards the 30-minute time frame. We have this nice bullish imbalance candle right over here, right? So once I saw this going into the early New York session, which I woke up early today at 6 in the morning, so this was at 6:14. Once I saw the market was building these two things, all you guys got to do is just simply grab your fib. You place it from the nearest low to the nearest high. Boom. What do we have? This bullish imbalance lines up perfectly with the golden zone, which is the 0.618 to the 0.5. It also matches with this 30-minute imbalance or 30 minutes, fair value gap, a bullish fair value gap. So how exactly did I enter this trade? Very simple. If you guys take a look right over here, you guys can clearly see how we had a nice, let me just grab a little arrow for you guys. So we have the bullish imbalance. We had the retest of the imbalance. we also had the retest of the Fibonacci zone. So once we retested it, we immediately saw that price action had some bullish reaction towards it, right? Immediately had a bullish reaction towards it. We retested 15-minute break structure as well, which is all of this. Retested 15-minute bullish fair value gap as well. And if you guys kind of want to see it from a support and resistance zone, you guys can kind of go towards the lower time frame. And then from here, we have all of these highs. Let me delete this Fibonacci zone. We have all of these entire highs, right? Which just turns into an area of support. So again, we are reacting off support. We are reacting off Fibonacci zone. We are reacting off bullish fair value gap zones. The imbalanced areas, right, is zones that price action always like to retrace back. So think about it like a magnet, right? The market has a nice push. The market needs a magnet to come back to retest these zones. Once it rejects it, that's exactly where you guys can look for your entry confirmation. So once pretty much I saw that price action was just bouncing off these zones, right? Once we had this nice bounce towards the upside, this is exactly where I set up my limit. I set my limit right over here. This is when the market came back to retest it once again, and we noticed that we've been holding it not once, but we hold it 1, 2, 3, 4 times in a row. This right here is exactly once we had a nice push towards the upside, I set up my limit at 42.07. I did see that price action is holding the zone perfectly. We are respecting all the bullish structure, what we want to see. My stop loss was a little bit wide with this trade due to the fact that obviously these zones is pretty wide for us, right? This is a wide zone. So all I simply did was place my stop loss underneath the previous 1 hour candle, which is just giving it space. Because maybe price action could have tapped towards this exact support zone before having the push. But obviously we just respect it. So that's exactly why I pulled out with 2 limits. We had a 42.07 and 42.05. So once we came back over here, 7 a.m., I'm pretty sure this is exactly where I activate my trade. Price went perfectly, and as you guys can see, we did end up playing out very nice. Now, obviously, we want to target 1 and 3 risk to reward. I've already secured almost 80% of my profits. I do have stop loss plays at 44.28, so we do have a retracement. I will be taking out with runners over 200 pips at a 101.2 risk to reward. But I'm pretty happy with the results of today. Pretty happy with the setups. Honestly, I could have added more position. If I'm being honest with you guys, a good position that I could have added was pretty much the same exact retest of this structure. So we could have added another position right over here, which is similar to this setup over here. And we could have also added another position, which would have simply been right over here, which is once again, very similar setup right over here. As you guys can see, it's just forming nice higher highs and higher lows. At this point over here, we're just letting the market do its thing. Hopefully, we do end up hitting our final take profit, which was matched for 1 and 3 over 500 pips. So this was a trade that I took today, guys. I hope you guys understand exactly how I pretty much mark up, how I look for this type of setup, and why did I take this setup. So pretty much done for the day. Hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you guys on the next one.